So, Keyshawn, I missed you, man. I really missed you. But how sick does all of this make you as you come back to us?
Well, first of all, Skip, I'm actually not sick at all about what the Cowboys have done. I put themselves in a good position. What I am sick of, though, is you and Michael and the Cowboy fans and all the rhetoric. That's the problem. It's not that I dislike I don't dislike the Cowboys at all. I want to make sure that y'all stay in line because just like you just said, you're on your way to the NFC Championship Game. That's the part that drives me crazy. Like, you got to stop. You're not going to force me to be a fan in a situation where you know good and damn well that the Philadelphia Eagles shouldn't have lost to the Arizona Cardinals.
But they did.
I get it, but they did. And you know good and well, just like I know, that Dan Campbell, despite what he says, hey, 1:41 to go in the game, I told them when we go down there and score, we're going for 2. I'm okay with that. You did it once, it didn't work out. Kick the damn field goal or the PAT. What are you doing? Look, man, you're talking about the number 2 seed. Detroit could have been talking about the same thing.
Or the number 1 seed.
Or the number 1 seed. They really could have. I don't understand what Dan was doing. He let the Cowboys off the hook. He really did, but that's okay. You deserve it. They continue to fight at home, continue to win at home. Again, Jared Goff, 2 interceptions in the game, 2 costly interceptions in my opinion. But then when you start to look at this football team and the Cowboys, yes, they're headed in the right direction, man. I got to give it up to you. Do they want to have a collision course, though? Because right now, if I'm looking at the math, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be off a little bit, you're probably going to see Philadelphia or Detroit again at home, right? I mean, that's Seattle is in the mix right there.
Sure. The Rams are still in that mix.
The Rams are in that mix.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got a easier path.
Right now, it looks like Green Bay, if they beat Chicago, would come to Dallas first. That would be the first one. So you're talking about the second
I'm talking about the second home playoff game where you'll see one of those combinations before you get to your ultimate dream, which is
back in San Francisco. Unless somebody goes to San Francisco ahead of time and knocks them off.
I'm not going to worry about that. What I'm going to worry about is y'all taking care of business in Washington. Though it's not a layup. It's not a
layup. I agree.
Regardless to what Jacoby Brissett's status is in this situation, you still got to go on the road. You're 3-5 on the road. And what would Washington love to do in riding off into the sunset at the end of the season is pop the Dallas Cowboys.
That is correct.
So before you start talking about NFC Championship games, Skip, just bring it down. That's all I'm asking.
You've been warning us all year. And all of a sudden, the 2 seed reared its ugly head right when you least expected it. And here we sit.
Yeah, that day I did not expect that.
And
then when Dan Campbell failed on the 3rd attempt, trust me, I was not very happy.
Okay, but Micah gave him a reprieve, right, from back where he started because Micah was offsides on the second.
Yeah, but even so, and we'll dive into the call, obviously, on the referee,
we'll get into
on the eligible receiver stuff later on. But kick the PAT, Richard. Just kick the PAT and go in. I don't know why you would do that with everything on the line. You got the 1. You went from the 2 to the 1, the 1 to the 2, back down to maybe just the 4th seed. Like, come on, or 3rd seed. Come on. Like, why would you do that to yourself? It makes 0 sense. And I don't want to hear anything about it's young coaching. He's played in the league. He's coached in the league long enough. And he's been around some hell of a coaches, that Hall of Fame coaches in his career to know better than that. I don't know what Dan was doing.
I don't either. I think he already had his mind set on doing it, and then he just would not be talked out of it at that point. It just, I don't know why, but I don't have a problem with what's going on in Dallas. I mean, you lucked into the 2 seed. Congrats. At the end of the day, this is a cool story for the moments that we're in it. Like Skip is going on we're always haters because we bring Dallas fans back to reality, back to life, back to reality. We bring you back to reality, Skip, because you fly off on a spaceship somewhere into another universe and leave reality.
There. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so
I'm not
let
here.
me bring you into a few.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me bring you into a few different realities for the Dallas Cowboys now. There is a chance you have to play either Sean McVay's Rams, which I think they've sewn up the 6th seed. I think they're going to be in the 6th seed. You have to play LaFleur's Packers, or you have to play Pete Carroll's Seattle Seahawks.
Yep.
And all these people, they only have a few things in common, and that's Kyle Shanahan and this West Coast Mike Shanahan offense. And you guys have played it a few times this year, Skip. Now, the Green Bay Packers are playing some solid football defensively. They're okay. I don't think they can stop your offense. I don't think they can stop Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. But I also think schematically they give you issues with their offense and what LaFleur is doing, because what Kyle's done, what Mike McDaniel was able to do, not to a great extent because they only scored 22 points, but they all will watch the same tape. McVay wasn't able to do when they went to Dallas. They lost a game and got blown out, but they still had success in some plays.
They did.
So I think they'll find a way to give you guys a game. And so you're sitting here saying, hey, congratulations, we're in the NFC Championship. Not so fast, my friend.
No,
you didn't even really win.
Seriously.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
You got to beat Detroit or Philly, and I know Philly's been looking abysmal for the past 5 weeks or so, but Detroit has not, and Detroit will come motivated, and you're the only thing standing in front of them, and some history that hasn't happened in Detroit, and I don't know how long. So I don't know, Skip. I'd say pump the brakes just a little bit.
Okay, so let me get you on record. If it does come down to Detroit back at Dallas, will you pick Detroit over Dallas?
It depends on how they both looked in the last game.
Yeah, because you won't.
It would have to.
But why are you so ahead of the curve, Skip?
I'm just saying.
Well,
He brought it up. I'm on his curve.
But this is why Richard and myself have issue with you and Michael. Won't you take one game at a time, man?
All right. I'm going to address your Dan Campbell issue. And you know Dan because you played with him. And he is from Texas. And there's an old Texas expression, a bum Phillips
I texted him. He didn't text me back, though.
Oh, well, he's got other issues right now.
I kind of said some stuff to him about text.
To text back. The old Texas expression is you dance with who brung you. Well, he's been dancing with that same partner all year long. He just goes for it. It's just like that's who they are. That's what they're made of. They go for it. Maybe there's a time and a place to go for it, as you say, but he is not going to act out of character and show his football team that he backed down from any situation. This is what they do. That's what they're going to do. And they went for it. And on that final play, he had his backup tight end who had caught his first pass of the whole year earlier in the fourth quarter, kind of hidden at the end of the formation. And he leaked him out, and he had him, and Jared Goff just missed him. But what did you text me, Keyshawn, during the game? Jared Goff can suck, and much of the time he does, except for right after you texted me, you jinxed me because here he came, just when I least expected it, after they had picked him off and looked like ended the game. Then my coach wants to throw a bomb on second down, and the clock stops because it's way incomplete, and all of a sudden Jared Goff gets the ball back with plenty of time to go 75 yards in 6 boom, 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 boom plays, and just when I was ready to applaud my defense and say, that's a deep run in the playoff kind of defense, it let me down. In the biggest situation, it mixed my emotions once again, and I'll be the first to admit to both of you, no team in my Cowboy-loving history has ever mixed my emotions worse than this team. It can show you Super Bowl-type firepower, and then it can show you fatal flaws, like it can't run the ball, and sometimes on defense, when it's time to stop Tua from going, 64 yards for the walk-off field goal, nobody makes a play. They made big plays against Jared Goff until it was time to make one more play to end the thing, and he goes 75 yards in 6 plays, and I'm sitting there saying, oh, my God, it has happened. I told you, Keyshawn, last week, I predicted Dallas would lose that home game by 1 point, and they should have lost the home game by 1 point. We'll get deeper into the reporting issue, the eligible issue in a few minutes. But I love Dak, and then I don't love Dak, and then I love the defense, and I don't love the defense, and Micah shows me a flash, and then you look at his stats, and he still doesn't have, what is it now, a sack and a half?
I thought he played well against Detroit from what I could see.
He had his moments, but he didn't, as Richard pointed out a couple days back on Monday, he didn't have a sack. And now down the stretch, he's gone 5 games with a sack and a half.
He was harassing, though. He was in the way. Harassing. He was presence. I could see his motor was a little different, Skip.
Okay, I got you. But first things first, I'm going to be the first to admit, even more than you guys appreciate the depth and the danger of this arch rivalry with Washington. I know it. I know it cold. I know it cold as my heart can go when we go to Washington, because that franchise has lived to spoil our parties and vice versa. So I was watching Ron Rivera yesterday talk like he's dead man walking, like this is it for him. And it probably is. They have a new owner. They're probably going to want to go on with Josh Harris, go in a whole new direction. So will those players, because I do think I don't know if I can go to love Ron Rivera, but I do think they appreciate him as a player's coach. Will they give him one last hurrah as he fades into the sunset? They could. They're highly capable of it. So, but we're 13.5-point favorites. And I still think even if we can go win by 1 point, I believe we'll go win this game.
Y'all barely scored 13 on the road.
You got it. And we've played poorly on the road. Yep, go, Richard.
Yeah, but Skip, that's why I don't understand your delusion, because you just went through this whole escapade about how you don't trust this team and they run you through this gauntlet of emotions, but then you tell me and Key that they're going to the NFC Championship. And so how do you think this team is going to treat you when the chips are on the line? Like, they're going to have to deal with some things in this playoffs. I understand that they've won 15 straight, 16 straight at home. I hear you. And then they had a loss on their record for all of 2 seconds or 15 seconds before the referees turned around and said, oh, we changed our minds and this is illegal man down the field. I got you. But what I'm telling you, Skip, is could you tell me the last few teams that sent the Dallas Cowboys home at home in a playoff game? Could you tell me? Because I don't recall, but there's like these ghosts of memories of Aaron Rodgers throwing his pass, and then you know, Jimmy Garoppolo sending them home.
Jimmy Garoppolo,
Didn't the Rams send y'all home?
So
too?
what?
Not at home. They was out here
at home.
stomping grounds in the Coliseum.
That's right.
No, I got you.
But Key, I just want to make the point, because they're going to be at home. So I'm just trying to see if Skip has any ghosts or any memories of a Green Bay Packers helmet potentially walking into Jerry's world and sending you guys home the lonely way.
I got a big one, because it's Kyle Shanahan, because it was the 49ers 2 years ago when I thought we were rolling, and we rolled right into a home playoff game against the 49ers and Jimmy G, not Brock Purdy, Jimmy G, and I thought we were golden, and we did not show up for about 3.5 quarters. And then all of a sudden we started playing. And if you recall how the game ended, we had the football. Dak took off on a kind of a quarterback draw play up the middle, and he's running, and you just got to get down and give the referee a chance to catch up to you, get the ball set so you get one last throw from about the 24-yard line into the end zone. And they couldn't get the ball set. So that's how that game ended. And then obviously we went out to San Francisco and lost last year, but it was only 19-12. I know how much you love Christian McCaffrey. We shut him down in a big playoff game at home. We shut him down. He couldn't run it. He couldn't catch it and run it. We controlled their offense reasonably to 19 points, and we could not score because our quarterback stunk that day.
Here's the problem with that.
So you didn't score because of your quarterback, but not because of their defense. I got you, Skip.
Well, but he threw 2 big picks in the second quarter, and he missed at least 4 open receivers in the second half. At least 4. I'll get the tape. We'll do it Friday. I'll show you all the 4. Because he misfired. He had Gallup 5 yards open late in the game that would have tied the game. We might be having a different conversation. And he was 5 yards wide and short.
But he's playing much better football than he rolled into last year's division title game.
Yep.
He's playing better football right now than what he was last year at this time when he had to play the San Francisco 49ers. But I want to play your game for a minute here, Skip, because you project already they're going to be in the NFC Championship game with at least 2 home games. If I'm a betting man, I'm probably betting on Dallas to beat Washington, although it could be tough. Sure. And I'm betting on y'all to finish the deal at home to see San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. Do I think you can do that? Yeah, I do. I'm being serious with you.
Yeah, I do.
I think
hear you.
I think you can because eventually something's got to fall. You've got to do it. I've been in that situation before against the Philadelphia Eagles. We lost in the regular season back in 2001.
You did.
We saw them in the NFC Championship game back in 2002. Mm-hmm. And we won that game when everybody had the Philadelphia Eagles favored.
In Philly, you won.
Philly, you got to go back to San Francisco. So it's very, very similar.
Was that Michael Vick?
That was Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb and Brian Dawkins and company.
I got it.
And when you think about it, there's a touchdown on your man Al Harris and company and Blaine Bishop in the NFC Championship game back in 2002. But what we did is we said, okay, we keep losing to them in the playoffs and the regular season. Our minds have got to shift, and we got to do some things differently. We made those adjustments. As Michael talked about gathering information, we gathered that information, and we took it to the NFC Championship game and wind up in the Super Bowl. Now, can that happen to the Dallas Cowboys? Yes, it can. But you first got to take care of business like we did. We took care of business with the first opponent in San Francisco, by the way, at home against the 49ers in Tampa. Then we rolled to we rolled to Philadelphia and won the game. Y'all can do that. You can do it, but you got to take care of business first.
Sure.
That's the key.
We got three orders of business.
Yes. Yeah. But you and Michael are putting the cart before the horse.
Okay. But it looked like go ahead, Richard. Yeah.
That's fine with me. But all this assumption is fine with me. I'm good with this. But Skip, do you remember who your head coach is? And you brought up a cool little issue about his pass play at the end of the game that gave the other team an opportunity. Yeah. Because he could have just run the ball and and ran the clock down. Because he did the same thing against Seattle in the Seattle game where he could have ran the clock down, but instead he threw a pass in the end zone and then gave Seattle a chance to drive the ball potentially at the end, and they blew it. They didn't get the pass off. Because they let Parsons run free, et cetera, et cetera. But it comes down to coaching decisions in the playoffs. Skip.
Sometimes it does.
And a lot of times a lot of times you guys have gotten sent home and there's been head-scratching decisions where you're like McCarthy standing at a podium answering questions about why he did or why he did not. Or why did they practice this? Or was your team ready for this situation? Even when Dak Prescott ran that play, people were like, hey, McCarthy, did you call that play? Did you know you didn't have timeouts? Did you tell him to do that? Did you tell him to clock it? What was your decision-making? So at the end of the day, he will have to make those decisions, Skip, and that is your weakest link. Okay. That is the weakest link on your team.
I buy that. I believe it. I give you that. But Mike McCarthy does wear a Super Bowl ring. He took a wild card road team on the road 3 straight times to get to Jerry World.
Rode Aaron's back.
I know. I give you that also. But he is a very good play caller, and I have really been impressed with his play calling this year. I'm never impressed with his feel for the game, his clock management, his do or don'ts, or those crucial late game decisions. I don't trust him at all. Maybe it's one of those years where you can't lose for winning. That's what happened on Sunday night. It's the opposite of the old cliche. You can't lose for winning. Maybe it's just meant to be. I do believe the Jimmy curse got lifted. You can laugh all you want at it, but we were cursed over the last 28 years because Jerry wouldn't let Jimmy in the Ring of Honor where he rightfully, obviously belongs. He's in now, and what happened in the second half? Brad Allen became our maybe season MVP. He let us off the hook by screwing up the eligibility ruling at the end of the game. And look at us now. Then Philly, I've told you guys from the start, Philly is overrated. From day one of this show with you guys, overrated because they are so bad on defense. They got run off their own feet.
They were 10-1 at one point.
Yeah,
man.
And what did I tell you? I had the courage of my convictions, and I said they are flawed. They are overrated on defense. And what started happening? They got tore up on defense. You know it, and I know it.
They were winning the Arizona game. It was getting ready to be over with, and all of a sudden things just went another way.
What did Arizona have? 21 yards rushing?
Pretty much same amount that they rushed on y'all. Same amount.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
225 on y'all, I believe.
Guess what? We're positioned to be the 2 seed.
You are positioned to be the 2 seed.
Yeah.
Can you finish the deal in Washington?
Sure,
that's the question.
Hard. I'll take a 1-point win. And by the way, if I were a betting man, I would take Washington in those points because that's way too many points for a rivalry game that means as much
on
as
the
this
road.
one does.
3-5, and it's not like you're scoring 40 points on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, your last outing. What was the last outing? 20 points? Is that what you just scored at home? 20?
At home, we just scored 20 points.
20 points was the last time you scored. 20 points was the last game.
Yeah,
and then before that was what?
20 points at Miami.
20 points at Miami.
Okay.
So it's not like y'all putting up 40.
I thought you loved Dak Prescott. You just raved about it.
No, I do.
Yeah.
You pay that man.
Okay.
You pay him.
Let's pay him for those 20-point outings, right?
Yeah, but it ain't all on Dak Prescott, though.
Okay.
It's CD Lamb. See, think about it. CD Lamb's been balling out of control. 200-plus yards last week.
He is my lone baller.
He is the I mean, he arguably right now probably is the, if you outside of Tyreek Hill, is the best receiver in the National Football League.
Thank you.
Outside of Tyreek, he's the best receiver.
I can't wait till we having these conversations when y'all got to pay him $30 million, you got to pay Micah $35 million, and you got to pay Dak $60, and then you try to build a team. Skip, I can't wait for those.
Hey, you know what, Richard? If they're all wearing new Super Bowl rings, I'll be good with it because it won't matter.
They won't be.
Okay.
They won't be.
You better hope not. And this man across from me better hope not, because you will never hear the end of me if that happens.
Look, again, Skip, I'll say it like I said it when we first started this segment. I don't care. I'm not sick about the Cowboys. What I'm sick of is you, the rest of the fan base, and Michael Irvin. I tried to enjoy my holiday time and went away from L.A. somewhere else to watch the damn game, and yet and still all in my ear all day long. I'm like, dude, Detroit's about to beat y'all. That's the problem.
We are America's team.
I don't care about y'all being everywhere. Y'all just drive people insane for no apparent reason.
Can you imagine
you haven't won in 28 years?
Can you imagine Cowboy Nation taking over Las Vegas for the Super Bowl? Can you even
No, I can't. Skip.
You getting ready to jinx the whole situation?
I can. They probably going to take it over. They're going to be right in the stands with everybody else watching 2 other teams play. I'm not mad at that. I hope they enjoy the game.
You guys are
okay, we need to change the subject because we got to talk about David Tepper getting fined. He's worth $20.6 billion, and he was fined $300,000? Seriously? That's next.
No mercy, no mercy, no mercy.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.